How's it going, everyone? We have some more Clair Obscur Expedition 33 updates to go over as the game has cracked yet another major milestone. The sales numbers for this game continue to climb, and this is one of those games that over time I think it's just going to continue climbing and climbing. I'm not saying it's going to triple or quadruple in sales, but I think it's one of those games by the end of the year it will surge even higher and by a considerable margin, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, we have an interesting note on the development of this game that has been making the rounds quite a bit as well. We'll talk that at the end of this video, but right off the bat, the Expedition 33 official social accounts have posted 12 days in, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has crossed 2 million copies sold. We've watched in awe as so many of you began your journey feeling every step, every emotion, every revelation alongside you. To those just joining us, welcome. Tomorrow comes. Expedition 33 is one of those games that, yes, there was a portion of us that were excited about this game leading into the release of it. However, as somebody that's been covering this game since it was literally revealed back in June of last year at that Microsoft showcase, in my wildest imaginations, I would have never expected this game to see this level of success. At the end of the day, it was a brand new IP done by a debut studio. At that level, it is very, very difficult to resonate at a high level. There's a couple of games that are single-player oriented, new IP, new studio, that have done well. I look at games like Plague Tale, you have Stellar Blade out there, but it's a difficult game. Look at other games like Immortals of Aveum and the Callisto Protocol. There have been so many games that have just been disasters, but with Expedition 33, I just think you feel that passion really seep through in this game, and there's a lot of elements that worked in it. Let me also say right off the bat that this game should be a case study for so many other developers and publishers on how to reveal a game, on how to promote a game, because yes, they had to stick the landing and they had to deliver a high quality game, but leading up to the release of this game, they did everything in their power to make people that were in the know and knew about this game excited about the game. You saw how many videos myself and so many other people were making and how many social impressions this game was getting. Not at the level of post-release and after people realized how good this game was, but still, they did an incredible job of promoting this game. And then I see other publishers revealing new IPs, no gameplay, boring trailers. It's just mind-numbing to me, and I don't understand. And I look at Ubisoft revealing a game, and it, you know, kind of goes hand in hand with Sandfall being a bunch of Ubisoft, former Ubisoft devs, I should say. But you look at, like, the debut trailer for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. They took an existing IP with a lot of cachet behind it and completely butchered it, and that game a flop. Now, that game ultimately turned out to be pretty good, but I think at a promotional level, go back to the debut trailer of that game and look at the comment section. How so many developers and publishers are just botching reveal trailers right out the gate. Concord's reveal trailer. Look at how that game turned out. I have high expectations out of Sony's upcoming game, Sorrows, but I thought that debut trailer was terrible. A new IP with no gameplay is just... I just cannot comprehend why you would do that. And Expedition 33, on the other hand, you had this debut trailer that had an incredible soundtrack already showcased in that trailer, and look at what happened with the final product. The sound design and the soundtrack has been one of the most resonating elements of this game, and while 12 days after its release, it has sold 2 million copies, remember that this game was available on Xbox Game Pass, which I get that the Xbox fan base, you know, they're not buying millions upon millions of copies of a game like this, but still, they would have bought a significant amount, I would think. And then also the PC audience, there was a significant amount of people that played this game through PC Game Pass. And on top of all of that, it came out the same week as The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which I have talked to people, and I get that this is anecdotal, that are playing Oblivion Remastered that otherwise I really do believe would have picked this game up. I get that people online want to be like, oh, they propelled each other higher and higher and it elevated both games. I just don't think that's the case. I think that's a nice lens to look at it. I just think the reality is Expedition 33 and Oblivion, there was enough room to go around for two exceptionally well done games. That's the reality about both of those games. They're exceptionally well done, and exceptionally well done games are gonna do fairly well or have the opportunity to do better. But I do think Expedition 33 would have done better if Oblivion didn't release and have that shadow drop in the same week. On top of that, like I said, new IP, new studio. I think this is a game that is just going to ramp up in sales and promotion throughout the entirety of the year and into 2026. I believe they should do DLC for this game, and then in 2026 you do some sort of Game of the Year edition release, a physical copy, all of the content on disc. That is a version of the game that I think a lot of people that already bought the game digitally would rebuy the game because they would want the physical copy and they would want all the content on the disc, and that's how much goodwill they've already established. And remember, that element of goodwill is the one thing that you cannot manufacture. You cannot create that overnight. Ask a Ubisoft how difficult it is to get your goodwill back after you've destroyed it and crapped all over it. It is impossible, but right out the gate, since Sandfall was working from a neutral level, given that they are a new studio, they have established that level of goodwill where if they do DLC, people will be all over it. If they do a Game of the Year edition release, I think there's going to be a lot of people that would double dip on the game. If they do a Nintendo Switch 2 release, which I think after DLC you do a Game of the Year edition, try to port it to the Nintendo Switch 2. Maybe they would be one of those devs that would try to go the CDPR route and not go with a game key card, since I know people would appreciate that. But there's a lot of factors like that in place that I do think could make this game sell even better. And by the end of the year, if we're talking about 3, 4, 5 million copies sold, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Or, 5 million's a lot, but into 2026 with a Game of the Year edition release, DLC coming out, I think there's a lot of opportunity for this game to grow and grow. And think about that from the standpoint of this being a brand new developer, to have this baseline level that you are working with. I don't want to push the cart before the horse too much, but the levels that Sandfall can reach is outstanding. Now, what I hope is, I don't know what's going on in the inner workings of Sandfall, but I would have to imagine that they are being thrown a billion offers. I'm sure a Sony, a Microsoft would love to acquire Sandfall, and that does worry me a little bit. I look at what PlayStation is doing with all of their live service titles, and I'm not saying, could you imagine them acquiring Sandfall and be like, all right, yo, how do we live service your Expedition IP? I don't think they're gonna do that, but man, I get it that the financial aspect to it is something that I cannot break down, and I don't know what offers would be on the table, but I would love for them to do what they do. They're a small team. They clearly know each other fairly well, and that's one of the reasons that they called out for being such a success, and even talked about how if they were trying to pitch this game to a bigger publisher, that it would take so long to get it off the ground because it is such a new title and a unique premise that they don't know if they would ever really get it off the ground. But I would imagine now that they're established and now that the gaming world is buzzing about them and they are a front runner to literally win Game of the Year. Yes, there are other big games coming out. You've got your Yotes, you've got your Mario Kart Worlds, Donkey Kong, all those Nintendo games, Metroid Prime. You've got Death Stranding 2 certainly in contention, but I think Expedition 33 winning Game of the Year would just be so impactful for the entire industry as a whole. And when I talk about Game of the Year, that's what I care about. At the end of the day, which games you like the best from whatever year, it's a subjective metric. You like what games you like. There's no real way to deduce which game should be Game of the Year. What I value out of Game of the Year is the ramifications it would have for that studio, that IP, and the industry in totality, and Expedition 33 would fit all of that criteria in terms of elevating Sandfall as a studio, elevating Expedition 33's notoriety, and being a statement to the games industry as a whole. But incredibly happy about this game selling 2 million copies, and again, I just think it's gonna ramp up throughout the entirety of the year. When it sees a 30% off discount or a 20% off discount, when the physical copies are restocked, if they do DLC and there's a Game of the Year edition release, if they do port it to Nintendo Switch 2, there's so much potential for this game to sell even more copies. And again, 2 million copies already is exceptional. You look at something like Final Fantasy 16, and that's Final Fantasy. I get that it was only on PS5, but that sold 3 million copies in a couple of days. But what game is going to have the long-term growth in sales numbers? Final Fantasy 16, after it came out, kind of got exposed as far as some people liked it, some people didn't, and when it came out on PC, it didn't push incredible numbers. Rebirth, on the other hand, fared much better, but 16 didn't do incredible numbers. It did fine, but you know, you kind of could sense with 16 that the investment in that game tapered off after a while. I think with Expedition 33, that is not going to be the case, where this game is just going to grow and grow. But with that being said, 2 million copies 12 days in. I also do want to note, the notes are going around on social media. Expedition 33's writer and composer were both found on Reddit, and the composer was found on SoundCloud. It is insane. I don't know how much they spent on developing this game. They didn't have an incredible budget to work with, but the fact that they got this off the ground, I can't imagine it was more than $75 million. And when you hear about gaming budgets being $150, $200 million, it's insane. And let it go to show that this era in gaming, yes, you have to have a marketing budget to an extent, but word of mouth within this social media online era of gaming means so much, because Expedition 33, they promoted it in the sense that they talked about the game, they did interviews, they had a solid cast for voice acting, they composed quality trailers, but in terms of having large billboards or anything like that, they didn't have a lot of stuff like that. Game Pass gave them a solid safety net, and that is the value of Game Pass, which is great, but it's not like this game had an immense budget attached to it, and not every game can go down the route of Expedition 33, and I do think it's foolish to expect every game to be at the quality level. Expedition 33 was an incredibly unique concept, done by incredibly passionate and talented people. The reality is, not every game is gonna be like this, you guys, and if this is the barometer and the standard we set, you're gonna be disappointed with a lot of games. Let that be known. Like, I get that some people, and I've said this before, are coming at me being like, yo, your expectations are way too low out of gaming. Guys, this is an incredible game that, yes, you can learn a lot from it. However, we can't expect every game to be Game of the Year level titles. Like, that's just not reality, and that's in any entertainment medium. You can't expect everything to be absolute top level. Sometimes you try unique concepts and unique ideas, and it doesn't resonate at a fundamental level, and that's okay. You tried something, it didn't work out. You know, I say it's okay, but it could be, it could spell financial ruin. I mean, I look at everything that's going on with 100 Line right now, and it's incredibly disappointing, where that game is a very well done game, but it's not resonating at that same commercial level. And I would argue a big reason for Expedition 33's success is the visual style. Look, we can talk about, oh, people do want turn-based games. I can point towards a Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky First that's coming out later this year, or everybody that picked up Expedition 33 gonna want to check out that game. I had somebody message me wanting to play more turn-based JRPGs, but he added it with the qualifier, I'm trying to stay away from, quote, the too weeb stuff. That is verbatim what I was told, and then he messaged me about 100 Line. He's like, yeah, this looks too weeb for me. He knew about 100 Line. He messaged me about 100 Line. He had the qualifier of it being too weeb, so that is just the reality you're gonna have to accept, and there is a lot of elements, there are a lot of elements in play in terms of this game's success. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Interested to hear what you guys think. Sound off down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.